everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here then just welcome, and I'm super happy to have you here. Today I'm out with yet another crochet tutorial, and this time I'm going to teach you how to make this super cute raglan shrug. So this is something new on my channel, and I promise that with this tutorial you will learn loads of different new things where you will also be able to take this knowledge and later on customize it and adapt it for all sorts of different projects. So I really hope that you will enjoy it, and as always I have made sure that this tutorial is as beginner friendly as possible, so I'm going into as much detail as I can with every single stitch and every single step. But if you feel like I'm going too fast or too slow, then just feel free to adjust the speed of the video and I'm sure that it will help. But if you have any questions or need extra help, then just feel free to reach out in the comment section below and I will try to help you from there. And besides that, I have also prepared a written version of this pattern which is available for purchase on my Etsy store, also linked down below, so of course your support will be super appreciated. But now without further ado, let's jump into it. Here are the materials that I will be using. Here I have some 4-ply cotton yarn, and if you're interested, here are some more specs about this specific brand that I will be using. And of course you would need a crochet hook. For this project I will be using 3mm hook, and you will also need some scissors, as well as it will be handy to have some stitch markers, and in total you would need 4 of them. But now let's get started. And now to get started, our first step is to do a slip knot. So for that I normally grab my yarn like this, then I twist it to create a loop here, and then I just grab yarn and pull it through this loop to create a knot and also a bigger loop, and then we can just take our crochet hook and adjust the size of this loop so it actually fits our hook like this. And then we can proceed further, and our next step would be to do some chains. And since we are working this project from the top down, it will mean that chains that we are creating will actually establish our neckline. And here I have just prepared a quick drawing of how it will look. So in total we have to do 144 chains, and we will be doing them like this, in this way. And while we are doing these chains, we will also add in some stitch markers. So I have just prepared them here, and in the places or in the corners where I have these ones in here, this is where we are going to place our stitch markers. So starting from this first chain in the very beginning, we will place our first stitch marker. So here I just have a loop, and then I'm just chaining one like this, and this is our first chain. So now in here we can just add in a stitch marker like this. And then if we look back, next we just have to do 41 chain, and then in the 42nd we are going to place again one stitch marker, and then again 29 stitch marker, 41 stitch marker, 29, and then we will connect it together. So now the next step is to do 41 chain, and for that we just grab yarn and pull it through the loop that we have on our hook. So just count along until you have done 41 chain, and then in the 42nd we are again going to place in a stitch marker. And so here I have done 41 chains. So now in the 42nd that I'm just doing right now, I am going to place in another stitch marker. So I'm just doing that in here like this. So now we have placed 2 stitch markers, and if we check back here, our next step is to do 29 chains, and then in the 30th we are again placing in a stitch marker. So I'm just gonna do that, and then after that we have to do 41, and then in the 42nd again we are placing a stitch marker, and then 29, and this is where I'm going to meet you back again. So I'm just proceeding with these chains and adding in stitch markers where it's needed. And so here I have done all the chains that were needed, which in total was 144. And just to recap, in between the stitch markers we have a certain amount of chains. So in the beginning here, in between these stitch markers, we have 41 chain, then in the next space we have 29, and then again 41, and then 29 again. And now our next step is to actually connect the start and the end together. So we would be doing that like this. So here we are kind of creating like a rectangle shape I'm just trying to shape it in a proper way like this. So here we will be connecting this start and finish together, and we will establish this rectangle shape, which will basically be our neckline. And before we can proceed with actually connecting them together, we first just have to make sure that these chains that we just did, that they are kind of like straightened out and that they are not twisted. So just go through and just make sure that they are in a straight line, because that's quite important before we are proceeding further with connecting them together. And so here I have it. I have straightened out these chains, and now, as I said, we have to connect them together, and we will be doing that here in the very beginning. So in this chain where we have the stitch marker, which is the very first one, so we can actually remove this stitch marker away, because we already know that we are going to do it in here. And to connect together, we just have to do a slip stitch, and for that we just have to go through this first chain, then grab yarn and pull it through to have 2 loops on our hook. And then we are just grabbing this loop and pulling it through the loop that we already had on our hook, like this. So now these chains are connected together, and since this was our connection point, we already know that this is going to be one of the corners for our top that we are working on. So now we can actually proceed further with the first row, and we are starting with this corner. And always in the beginning, when we are starting a new row, it will be a little bit different. But basically in this way, we just have to first chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this chain of 4 is going to count as 1 double crochet and chain of 1. And then the next step is to place another double crochet inside this very same space. So I'm just going through there and adding 1 double crochet like this. And then again, we are just chaining 1 and adding another double crochet inside this very same chain. So I'm just doing that. And here we have created our first corner, and basically all of our corners will consist of double crochet, chain of 1, double crochet, chain of 1, and another double crochet. So it's going to look like this. And then we can move further and start working with the stitches for the remaining part of the row. And throughout this pattern, we will be creating this mesh stitch, and for that we will always have to do chain 1 and double crochet, chain 1 and double crochet. So since here we have a double crochet, we are starting with chain 1, and then since we are doing this chain 1, we are also skipping 1. So we are skipping this first chain, and then in the next one we are adding a double crochet. And in that way, we are kind of going to establish a block like this. And this is what we are going for. So after that, we are again just chaining 1, skipping 1, and in the next, adding 1 double crochet. So this is what I'm doing. And so here I have created 2 of these blocks. And now I'm just proceeding further with again chaining 1, skipping 1, and adding a double crochet in the following chain like this. So just move further and keep on repeating these stitches until you have reached the following stitch marker. And in there we are again going to place another corner. So I am going to meet you back again once we have reached this stitch marker in here, where I will add another corner together with you. And so here I have reached the next stitch marker like this, and I have basically finished this double crochet, and you can see that we have 1 chain in between this double crochet and our stitch marker. So our next step is to just do chain 1 like this, and now we can proceed with doing stitches here inside the stitch marker, so creating the corner. And for that, as I mentioned before, we first just have to do 1 double crochet. So I'm going through this stitch where our stitch marker is and just adding 1 double crochet like this. After that, we are chaining 1 and then adding another double crochet inside this same space like this. And then again adding 1 chain and again 1 double crochet in the very same space like this. So now we have added in this corner as well, and we can safely remove this stitch marker. And then after that we are again proceeding further with the stitches, and first we are just chaining 1, then we are skipping 1 right after this corner, and then in the following we are adding 1 double crochet like this. So this is basically the whole process. You just have to go all the way around, and in these places where you have stitch markers. This is where you have to do stitches for the corners, so doing basically what we just did now. And otherwise in between them you just have to do these mesh stitches, so double crochet, chain one, skip one, double crochet, chain one, skip one. So just go all the way around, and I will meet you back here once we are able to connect this first round together. And now here I have reached the end of this first row, and as you can see we have also properly established like a rectangular shape. And now we just have to connect this round together, and here as you can see I have finished it with double crochet, and in between here we still have one chain, and then we have this starting point with 4 chains. So before we can connect, we first just have to chain one like this, then we are skipping this one, and now we can connect with the slip stitch, and we will be doing that here in the 3rd chain from this beginning. So we are kind of like leaving this as the chain one space and then doing a slip stitch here in the 3rd chain. So I'm just going through this 3rd chain, then grabbing yarn and doing a slip stitch like this. So now this first round is connected, and we can proceed further with the 2nd round. So to get started with this 2nd round, we will first again have to do some chains, and also for your reference, here we are at this corner, but first we have to get there. And the corner stitch, the very middle one of them are this middle double crochet. So this is actually where we are going to place our corner here during the 2nd round. But now to get started, we first just have to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and again this chain of 4 counts as 1 double crochet and chain 1. So with this we will actually establish a block once we are adding in stitches here in this corner. So now since we also have this chain 1, it means that we have to skip 1, which is this chain 1 space, and then here in this middle double crochet, this is where we are going to start adding in corner. And as you remember, we first just have to do 1 double crochet, so I'm going in there and adding a double crochet like this. Then after that we just have to chain 1, then again adding a double crochet, and this middle double crochet or the 2nd double crochet of this corner is going to be the middle one. So again during next round, this is where we are going to place the next corner, and then after this we just have to chain 1 and then adding another double crochet, which is 3rd one inside this same space like this. So here we have started to work on our 2nd round, and we have already added in a corner. And now we are proceeding further with this side. So again, first step is to chain 1, then skip 1, and then adding a double crochet here on top of the next double crochet that we have like this. So here we are already starting with the following stitches, and from now on the process is going to be again quite repetitive. So we are just chaining 1, skipping 1 and adding a double crochet on top of every double crochet that we have here from the previous row, and we are going to do that until we have reached the next corner. So let me just show you. So we are just doing that here until we reach this middle double crochet of these 3 inside this corner. So this is how far we are now. So now just continue doing that until you reach this point, and I will meet you back here so we can do another corner together. And now here we are basically next to this corner. So again I have chained 1, then adding a double crochet on top of this stitch, and now we are starting with the stitches here in this middle double crochet from the corner. So first we are chaining 1, then adding our first double crochet in this middle stitch, then chaining 1 and adding the 2nd double crochet in this middle stitch, which is also going to be the middle one, and then chaining 1 and adding the 3rd double crochet inside the same space like this. So this is how it looks. So now also this corner is added in, and now we are just proceeding further with this side. So again, chaining 1, skipping 1 and adding double crochet on top of the double crochet from the previous round, and then just moving further. So as I said, it's quite repetitive from now on, so you just have to remember to place corners inside here where we have them, and otherwise just make your way all the way around, and I will meet you back here once we are able to again connect this 2nd round together. And now here I'm at the end of the 2nd round, and as you can see, our rectangle is growing bigger with every round that we are adding. And now here at this point, we again just have to connect this together. So in the same way as we did before, we just first have to chain one and then we can connect together. And we are again going to do that here inside the third chain. So we still have this chain one space to create the block. So 1, 2, 3, we are going through this third chain and doing a slip stitch inside here like this. So now this second round is officially finalized, and now we just have to keep on adding new rounds in the same way as we did. So basically we just have to keep on repeating this second round for as many times it's needed, and to determine how many times it's needed is basically that you have to do that until once you are wearing this part, that these two corners on each side, that they would meet each other once you are like kind of folding it. So basically this would be the armpit part. So once these two corners meet below your armpit, you are done with adding rounds. So just keep on doing that and keep on repeating this second round to add new ones for as many times it's needed. And as you're doing that, you're more than welcome to try it on and check the fitting to see how many rounds are left for you to do. But otherwise, just keep on repeating this second round in the same way that I was explaining it just now. And so here I have done 15 rounds in total, and if I try it on, you can see that in my case it actually is enough because these two ends underneath the armpit, they meet each other. So in my case I'm done, but if you feel like you would like to have this a little bit more loose, or if it's not enough for your size, you can just keep on adding extra rounds until you have reached the point where these two corners meet underneath the armpit. But once you're there, we can actually fasten off since we are done with this part. So here I'm just getting this loop where I just connected the last round, and now we can fasten off. And for that I'm just chaining one, then making this loop a little bit longer, and then grabbing scissors and cutting off yarn, and as it's cut off we can just tighten it in a secure knot like this. So now we are done with this main part of this body, and now the next step would actually be to start working on the arm parts. And to get started, we first just have to connect these two corners together, and for that we just have to fold or work like this. Make sure that the right side is facing outwards, and then we will be connecting these two corners together, and then we will be able to proceed further with doing rounds here for the arm part. So let's proceed first with attaching yarn and connecting. So for that, here I'm just going through this very corner stitch of this corner, and then also going through the same corner stitch on the other corner here like this, and then we can grab our yarn and just pull it through like that, and then we can just attach it by making a secure knot like this. So now it's attached, and we have also technically connected these two corners together, as you can see. And since this is done, we can proceed further with doing stitches also for this part. And to begin, we first just have to grab yarn and pull it up, and then to get started we just have to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. And as always, whenever we are beginning a new round, this chain of 4 is counting as double crochet and chain of 1. And then after that we are just proceeding further with the steps as we did before. So starting from this next double crochet, this is where we are placing a double crochet stitch like this, and with this technically we have started working on our row for this arm, and we have kind of also created this first block. And then after that we just have to keep on doing the same stitches as we did throughout this project. So chaining 1, skipping 1 and doing double crochet, then again chaining 1, skipping 1 and doing a double crochet. So here I have done a couple of them already, and this is how it looks. So now we are just moving further and continuing to work here in rounds to build length for this arm. And as you can see, since in this case we just have a round shape, it just means that there are no corners. So basically from now on you won't have to work on these corner stitches as we did before, but instead you just have to make your way all the way around, and then here you just have to connect to proceed further with the next round. So there are no multiple stitches inside one space, you just have to do these basic blocks all the way around. But for now, just keep on doing this, and then I will meet you back once again once we are able to connect this first round for this arm together. And here I am, just one block away from this start where we started on this first round. So to connect together, we just have to chain one, and then we are doing a slip stitch here inside the third chain. So 1, 2, 3, and going through this third chain and doing a slip stitch in there. So now this first round is connected, and we can proceed further with the next one. And for that, again, we just have to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And again, this counts as double crochet and chain 1. And then we are proceeding again with doing double crochets on top of double crochets that we have, and then chain 1, skip 1, and double crochet on double crochet like this. So here I have started working already on the second round, and basically repeating the same process as we did before. So go all the way around and keep on adding new rounds until you have built enough length for these arms. And as you are working on these rounds, you can just easily try it on to see how it looks and to see how many rounds are left for you to do, and also just to measure that you are on the right track. And now here I have done 35 rounds in total, which brings me to around 3/4 of the arm length, which in my case is going to be enough just because I'm running out of yarn. And so now once this is done, we can just fasten off here as we normally do once this final round is connected. And then once that's done, we just have to repeat the same process here also on the other arm side. So basically you just have to connect this together, these two corners, and then just start by adding new rounds in the same way as you did here for this arm that we just completed. So just make sure that you do exactly the same amount of rounds on both sides. And now here I have also finished the other sleeve, and now we can fasten off. And for that, as always, I'm just chaining 1, then making this loop a little bit longer, then grabbing scissors and cutting off yarn, and then just tightening in a secure knot by pulling this loose end like this. So now technically this shrug is finalized. The only last step for us to do would be to weave in all of these loose ends that we have, and for that I normally just use my crochet hook, and I just go through the stitches inside the back like this, and then just grab this loose end and weave it through the stitches so it's not visible and not hanging. So just go through all the loose ends that you have and just weave them in. And now this shrug is finalized, and this is how it looks. I'm not sure if these two colors or if this dress and this shrug are a vibe, but this is how it looks. And at the end, as you can see, I did manage to add some more length for the arms just because I realized I actually have a little bit extra yarn, but now I have totally run out of it, so it seems like they are still a little bit short and we could add some extra rounds here. But we could also try out blocking to make them a little bit longer, which I might prepare a tutorial at some point later. But if you do have extra yarn, then just keep on adding extra rounds until you reach the length that you're going for. And you're also more than welcome to kind of like add a border, whatever type of border you prefer, around the arms here as well as here. And if you don't want this to be a shrug, you're also more than welcome to build it into a sweater by adding extra rounds here and building volume for a body part here, so in the same way as it was done for the arms. So basically you have loads of different options here as how you can customize it. And as you can see, we also have this mesh pattern here, which is basically filet crochet, but we haven't added any filled blocks. So if you have kind of like a pattern or a graph and you would like to add in some drawing or like design elements, you're also more than welcome to do that. So loads of different options here, and I hope that you will have fun with this tutorial and this project. And I do also hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it's going to be useful for you in case you're planning to recreate this shrug. And if you do, then please feel free to share your creations with me. I would be super happy to see what you're creating. And if you did enjoy this video, then please give me a big thumbs up. And if you're new here, then please subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye!